It was 1:43 a.m. when I saw the flashing blue and red lights in my rearview mirror. I'd been driving home from a late shift, a 2-hour ride through empty back roads and small towns that all looked the same at night. Dark, quiet, and half forgotten. The kind of towns that still had gas stations with broken signs and stray dogs that wandered into the road. I wasn't speeding. I hadn't done anything wrong. But those lights, that unmistakable pulsing pattern, made my stomach drop anyway. I slowed down, pulled to the shoulder, and waited. The cruiser stopped right behind me, 2 silhouettes inside. I could barely see through the glare of the lights, but the outline looked off, too square, too tall for a normal patrol car. I rolled my window halfway down. A tall man stepped out of the vehicle. His uniform looked right. Dark navy, shiny badge, even the hat. But when he got closer, I noticed something strange. His badge didn't reflect in the light. It was dull, like it was printed on. He tapped on my window with a flashlight. License and registration. His tone was calm, almost too calm, like someone playing a role. I handed him my license. He didn't even glance at it. He just slipped it into his pocket. "What's the problem, officer?" I asked. He leaned closer to my open window. I could smell something on his breath. Not coffee, not cigarettes. Something metallic, almost like blood. "Routine stop," he said. "There's been an accident up ahead. Road's closed. You'll need to take a detour." He pointed behind me, down a dirt path that led away from the main highway. I'd driven that stretch 100 times before. That dirt road didn't lead anywhere, just to an abandoned quarry and a set of rusted train tracks. I hesitated. "Are you sure? I've never heard of..." The second officer stepped out of the car. This one was shorter, heavier, and didn't say a word. He just stood near the trunk of my car, staring at me. I couldn't see his face. His flashlight stayed aimed at my license plate the whole time. Then I noticed something else. Their patrol car had no numbers, no department logo, just the word police in bold white letters. No city name, no markings. And the license plate was covered with mud, almost deliberately. "Sir," the tall one said again, leaning closer, "you need to turn around. Detour's that way." I swallowed hard. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. "Can you show me your ID or badge number?" I asked. He paused. That pause lasted too long. Then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smile that didn't reach his eyes, a twitch that felt more like a reflex than emotion. "Step out of the car." Every instinct in me screamed no. "I'd rather stay inside," I said quietly. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You think you get a choice?" The shorter one started walking toward the passenger side, dragging something along the road, metal scraping asphalt. My pulse was pounding in my ears. I realized then that my only chance was to run. I slammed my car into drive and hit the gas. The tires screeched, kicking up gravel as I shot forward, back onto the main road. In my mirror, I saw both of them sprint toward their car. No siren this time, no lights, just darkness chasing me. They followed. The unmarked car stayed right behind me for miles. Every time I thought I lost them, I'd catch those faint headlights again. It didn't matter how fast I went. They matched my speed perfectly. Then suddenly, they were gone. Just gone. No lights, no sound, no trace. I drove the rest of the way home, shaking, looking over my shoulder every few seconds. I parked in my driveway and sat in silence, trying to calm my breathing. My phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Next time, pull over. No name, just that. I called 911 immediately, told them what happened. The dispatcher's tone changed the moment I said where it was. "Sir, are you sure it was police?" she asked. "Yes, but I don't think they were real. The car, there's no active patrol on that road tonight," she said, cutting me off. "We had an incident last week. 2 men impersonating officers pulled a driver over. He didn't make it home." My chest tightened. "What happened to him?" "They found his car at the old quarry," she said quietly. "No sign of him." My stomach turned cold. That was the same road they tried to send me down. Before hanging up, she added one last thing. "If you see that car again, don't stop. Real officers will never tell you to take an unmarked route. Do you understand?" I nodded, though she couldn't see me. My voice cracked when I answered. "Yeah, I understand." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my dark living room, lights off, every sound amplified. At one point, I looked out the window and froze. Parked across the street, half hidden under a tree, was a black car. No lights, no plates, just sitting there. I stared at it for nearly an hour, waiting for it to move. It never did. But when I finally built up the nerve to go outside, it was gone. The next morning, I found something in my mailbox, my driver's license, and on the back, written in small black marker, were the words, "We know the way home." It started with a knock on the door at 12:37 a.m. Not a loud one, just 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I almost didn't hear them at first. The TV was still on, the hum of the refrigerator blending with the rain outside. But then came another series of knocks, this time harder. 3 again. I muted the TV. Nobody ever came to my house that late. I lived alone, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where everyone was in bed by 10, and the loudest thing at night was the wind chime on my porch. When I looked through the peephole, I froze. A man stood on my porch wearing a police uniform, dark navy, shiny badge, cap pulled low. He was tall, broad shoulders, one hand resting on something at his hip. A flashlight, maybe. He looked official, but something was wrong. He wasn't holding an umbrella, yet his uniform was completely dry. The rain had been pouring for an hour. I didn't open the door. "Can I help you, officer?" I asked through the wood. He leaned toward the door slightly, voice calm but deep. "Ma'am, sorry to bother you this late. We're conducting a welfare check. We received a call about a disturbance at this address." My heartbeat quickened. "A disturbance? There's no one else here." "I understand. It might have been a false report. Still, I need to come in and verify that everything's fine." I hesitated. Something about his tone was off. Too smooth, like he was reading a script. "Can I see your badge through the window?" There was silence. Then, after a pause, he said, "Ma'am, it's pouring rain. Just open the door so I can confirm you're safe. It'll only take a second." I didn't move. I knew better than to open the door at night for anyone. I looked out the window beside the door. No police car, no flashing lights. Nothing but my empty driveway. "Where's your car?" I asked, louder now. He didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, "It's up the road. I'm on foot tonight." Bullshit. No cop walks alone through a thunderstorm in the suburbs. I reached for my phone on the table, opened the camera app quietly, and snapped a picture through the curtain, just in case. When I looked at the photo, something made my stomach drop. His uniform had no name tag. I stepped away from the door. "I'm calling the station to confirm," I said firmly. There was another pause. Then his voice changed. The calm, rehearsed politeness was gone. "Ma'am, open the door. Now." I felt my hands shaking. "If you're a real officer, tell me your badge number." No answer, just silence. Then, bang, bang, bang. The door shook so hard the frame rattled. "Ma'am, open this door right now," he barked, voice deeper, angrier. I backed away toward the kitchen. My phone slipped slightly in my sweaty hands as I dialed 911. The operator picked up. "911, what's your emergency?" "There's a man outside, says he's a cop, but there's no car, and he's trying to get in." She cut me off, suddenly alert. "Lock all doors. Stay on the line. We have units nearby. Do not open the door." I could still hear him outside, pounding, pacing across the porch. "Ma'am?" the operator said again. "Yes? Can you describe him?" "Tall, dark uniform, no patrol car, no name tag." "Okay, stay hidden. Real officers will identify themselves when they arrive. Keep the line open." Then something hit the window behind me, hard. I jumped, screamed. The glass cracked, a spiderweb pattern spreading across it. He was at the side of the house now, shining a flashlight through the glass. The beam swept across my living room like a predator searching for prey. "I see you in there," he said, voice muffled by the rain. "You're making a mistake." I ducked behind the kitchen counter, clutching the phone. "He's trying to break in," I whispered. "Units are 3 minutes away," the dispatcher said. "Stay where you are." 3 minutes felt like a lifetime. The pounding stopped. Then, silence. I could hear my own heartbeat. And then, footsteps on the porch again. But this time lighter, 2 sets. Through the curtain, I saw 2 shadows. "Police!" one of them called. "This is Officer Daniels, County Sheriff's Department. Ma'am, we're here to help." Relief flooded through me. Backup had arrived. "Can you step to the door, ma'am?" "Wait," I said quietly. "How do I know you're real?" The voice replied, steady and confident. "We're in marked units outside, ma'am. You can look." I peeked through the curtain. Flashing red and blue lights flooded my driveway. 2 patrol cars this time. I almost cried with relief. I unlocked the door and cracked it open slightly, and froze again. The man from before was gone, but his footprints were still there, leading straight to the back of the house. The real officers moved quickly. One went around the side yard with a flashlight. The other asked me questions. Name, address, description. Then his radio crackled. "Found something." The first officer reappeared from the shadows, face pale. He held up something in a plastic bag. A mask. It was a human face, or at least looked like one. Silicone. Hyper-realistic, with fake skin tone and wrinkles. A costume mask. "Found it by the back window," he said. "Looks like he ditched it when he heard the sirens." My hands were shaking. The other officer looked at me gently. "You did the right thing not opening the door. He's been doing this for weeks." I blinked. "He?" "We've had multiple reports. Same MO, impersonating police. Usually picks houses where someone lives alone. 2 people went missing last month." My stomach turned cold. They stayed until almost 3 a.m., searching the yard, checking every lock. When they finally left, I sat in the living room, unable to sleep, watching the rain wash the footprints away. By morning, I convinced myself it was over. But it wasn't. At 10:22 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, a text message. "Next time, I'll bring a real badge." I froze. Then I noticed the attachment. A photo. It was me, standing at my window the night before, phone in hand, taking that picture of him. Only this time, The photo was taken from inside the house. It was 11:48 p.m. when the blue and red lights flashed in the rearview mirror. A sigh of relief washed over Emma at first. She thought the police had shown up just in time, because someone had been following her. For the last 30 minutes, she'd noticed headlights trailing her on the empty rural road just outside Maple Hollow. The same dark SUV, keeping perfect distance. Every turn she took, every slow roll through the stop signs, it matched her. She'd been on the phone with her friend Katie, whispering, "I think someone's following me." Katie had said, "Drive to a police station," but the nearest one was 30 miles away. Now, seeing the flashing lights behind her, Emma finally exhaled. Thank God. She slowed down, pulling onto the shoulder of the road lined with pine trees, the air outside still and suffocatingly dark. When she stopped, the SUV behind her stopped too, but the police car didn't move closer. The blue lights kept flickering in the distance, maybe 40 feet behind. No siren, no sound. Emma waited. Her hazard lights blinked weakly against the darkness. She expected the officer to walk up, the flashlight, the tap on the window, the usual routine. But no one came. After nearly 2 minutes, she cracked her window slightly, peering through the mirror. Still nothing. The police car idled there, engine humming faintly. Her phone buzzed, Katie calling again. "Did they get him?" Katie asked. "I think so. There's a cop behind me." "Is he talking to you?" "No, he's just sitting there." Katie's tone sharpened. "Emma, that's weird. They usually come up right away." As if on cue, the driver's side door of the police car finally opened. A tall silhouette stepped out. He didn't use a flashlight, just walked slowly, hands in pockets, face shadowed under the brim of his hat. Something about his walk was wrong. Too casual, too slow. Emma tried to calm her breath as he reached her window. He leaned slightly, his badge catching a faint glint from her headlights. "Evening, ma'am," he said flatly. "License and registration." She nodded, trying to sound normal. "Yes, officer. Can I ask what's wrong?" "Just a routine stop," he said. "Your taillights busted." Her stomach dropped. She knew both her taillights were fine. She'd checked them that morning. "Can I see your ID, please?" he repeated, his voice firmer now. Emma glanced down at her phone, thinking maybe she could text Katie. But the man's hand reached slowly toward her door handle. Her heart skipped. Don't open that!" she said quickly, her voice trembling. He smiled faintly. "Ma'am, you don't want to make this difficult. Step out of the vehicle." The way he said it made every instinct in her body scream run. She tried to stay calm. "Can you call for another officer? I don't feel safe right now." His expression hardened. The smile faded. "I am another officer." Then, from behind him, headlights flared. The SUV that had been following her pulled up. Her pulse shot through her chest. The fake cop turned, glancing toward the SUV, then looked back at her. "Step out. Now." Instead, Emma hit the gas. The tires squealed, gravel flying as she sped forward into the darkness, heart hammering so hard she could barely see straight. In her mirror, she saw both sets of headlights, the police car and the SUV, tearing after her. The police lights flickered on again, but she noticed something horrifying. The colors were wrong. The blue was too bright, almost white, and the red blinked unevenly, like a cheap strobe light. They weren't real police lights. She kept driving, whispering, "Please, please, please," over and over as she took a hard left onto an old service road. It was a dirt path that led through the woods, barely visible except for her high beams cutting through the fog. She turned off her lights and coasted slowly, hoping to disappear. For a moment, it worked. The sound of engines faded. The night went still again. Emma took a shaky breath. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. She grabbed her phone, no signal, just one bar flickering and dying again. She whispered to herself, "They're gone. They're gone." Then she saw it. Faint blue and red flashes reflecting off the trees ahead. They weren't gone. They had somehow cut her off. She slammed the car in reverse, but a blinding light filled her rearview mirror, the SUV's high beams. Her phone rang again. She didn't recognize the number. Against every instinct, she answered. A male voice said calmly, "You shouldn't have run, Emma." Her blood froze. "How do you know my name?" Silence, then, "Pull over, or we'll come get you." She hung up and threw the phone onto the passenger seat, slamming the gas again. Branches whipped against her car as she swerved down the narrow dirt road, heart pounding so violently she could barely breathe. She didn't know where she was anymore. No signs, no lights, just the endless woods. Then she saw something ahead, a cabin. Its porch light flickered weakly through the fog. She didn't care who lived there. She needed help. She screeched to a stop, jumped out, and sprinted to the door, banging hard. "Please, someone, please open up!" The door creaked open slightly. An older man stood there in a flannel shirt, his face lit by a dim lantern. "Jesus, girl, what happened to you?" he asked. "Please, someone's chasing me, fake cops. Please, you have to call the real police." He nodded quickly, ushering her inside. The cabin smelled like wood smoke and dust. He grabbed an old landline phone from the counter and started dialing. But then she noticed something. There were police radios on the table, 2 hats hanging by the door, and a black duffel bag in the corner. The same type she'd seen the officer carry earlier. The old man looked at her, his expression suddenly different. Calm. Too calm. "I told you to pull over," he said softly. Emma's breath caught. He wasn't alone. The door behind her opened. The man from the fake police car stepped in, brushing off his jacket. The SUV driver followed. The old man smiled faintly. Took her long enough. Emma bolted toward the back door, but hands grabbed her from behind. She screamed, kicking, twisting, desperate. "Please, I didn't do anything!" The man leaned in close, whispering, "We know." They dragged her outside, into the cold air, the smell of pine and gasoline mixing as the cop opened the SUV's back door. Emma's scream echoed through the woods, swallowed by the night. Hours later, when real officers arrived responding to an abandoned vehicle report, they found her car deep in the forest. The tires were slashed, the headlights smashed. No sign of Emma. But on the hood of her car, scratched into the paint, were the words, "Obey authority."